Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our episode 51 of MSME Masterclass, where we explore the transformative power of tailoring custom made products to meet specific client needs. In this episode, we are delighted to have Mr. Rushabh Dedhia, Managing Director of JICA Smart Installation Systems, joining us today. With a wealth of experience and strategic vision, Rishabh has led JICA to become a leading name in data centric infrastructure products and services. Rishabh is an entrepreneur who has spent over 15 years within this company, steering its evolution from B2B to a B2C venture. Under his leadership, JK has successfully transitioned from a fabrication firm into a comprehensive design, manufacturing, installation company. His expertise spans various sectors including solar structures, warehousing systems, and data centers. And his leadership has driven remarkable growth and innovation. In today's competitive landscape, where off-the-shelf solutions often fall short, Rushabh will shed light on how MSMEs can move beyond one-size-fits-all approach. We will dwell into the customer-centric strategies, agile product development, and collaborative design process that enables MSMEs to offer customized solutions to enhance clients' satisfaction and unlock new growth opportunities. Thank you, Rishabh, to join us today. It's a pleasure to have you.
It is a pleasure from my side to share some insights on this particular segment, which has primarily helped us evolve the entire group. Placing the right strategy, getting the right set of customers, and eventually growing out to be a much larger system integrator rather than just a small time fabricator. So I will, of course, when we go through further, we will discuss more in depth on each area of focus that needs to be brought in.
Absolutely. Let's jump right into it. Uh, so, Rishabh, how can MSMEs effectively gather and integrate client feedback into their product design process?
So I'll tell you something on very basics when it comes to what an entrepreneur primarily needs to do. Mostly once the business is over a period of 3-4 years get established, there is stable revenue growth, there is stable profitability, the employee retention is stable. The entrepreneurs generally get back to a comfort zone seat, eventually not spending the same amount of time with their customers, which primarily starts creating, the list of problems that every MSME faces, right from, client retention to product diversification or change in the product technology or anything that an MSME primarily faces in their day-to-day operations. So the first highlight or the first step towards making sure that you're always ready with the right product for the right market is to be sitting in front of the customer as much as possible. So I apply this one theory that there are three doors to an entrepreneur's life. One is the house door, which he needs to leave, especially an MSME entrepreneur needs to leave as early as possible. Staying at home really is not the maximum time you should be investing during at least your work days. The second door is your office door, which you need to be the least, only and only when needed you should be going to the office. The third door, which is the most important door, is the customer door. You put your flags there, put your bags there, be there. The more you spend time with your customer, the more you will understand the intrinsic needs of what problem he is having, and you can build your products or services around the problem which he probably may or may not know that he's facing. So it's basically when we teach sales to our people, we primarily tell them to read the requirements between the lines, because sometimes a customer is expecting or has built a mind that an X product or service is the solution he's looking for. but probably a value added, more deep down solution is needed, which you can design, develop, and then deploy to the customer's needs, be it a product or a service. And that will form the next level of growth for any organization from an MSME perspective. It may be scalable, it may not be scalable, depends on what product and service you are into. But then the primary, very basic level thing is that you be maximum time with your customers at different levels. Like for example, when we do warehousing sales, the storekeeper is generally the user, or the store manager is the user. The buyer might be probably in some other location, not knowing the problems of the user. So you sit with user, have a cup of tea, do some gupshup, and he will, during that gupshup, he may end up giving you one input which is very critical for you to, maybe modify your product, develop your product, or probably the same product presented in a different way. So how you are decorating your product or how you are positioning your product also gives you a lot of help with respect to growing your business. So many a times it's the same standard product, just packaged in a different presentation or different format, and it solves the problem for the end user, and you may win that sale or you may win that customer. So this is where the promoters or the sales guys or the marketing guys need to kind of focus on trying to read between the lines and find out the intrinsic needs rather than the extrinsic needs which are defined.
Yes, understandable. So on the similar lines, now that we have explained on what kind of customer feedback, how can we act on, what would you say would be the best practices to ensure the customized product aligns with the customer's needs, expectations?
I'll give you one very basic example of a case that I have been studying, when with respect to I'll just take a very basic example. You go to a William Penn store, a store that is offering, exotic pens or a little bit mid to premium segment pens. Now, there are two cases. Either you are going to buy that pen for yourself or probably to gift it to someone. So when you look around, there is probably a brand, maybe Cross or a Schaefer, which may cost 2,000 rupees, and then there is a kind of similar pen which is probably 2,500. And then when you ask them what is the difference, the sales guy would say that the pen which costs 2,000 cannot be customized with your name. You cannot print your name, but the one with 2,500, you can, we can engrave your name and give it to you. So it's a feel-good factor that, okay, by paying a very little extra, like 500 rupees extra, I'll get my name engraved on the pen. It becomes something that is, mine. It is not a generic thing then. And then it will remain exclusive to me. So probably the pen might be the same, but the only change of bringing an engraving factor of the name, and it changes the extrinsic need to touching the intrinsic need. And the customer may end up buying the 2,500 rupee pen with his name engraved, probably 50 rupees or 100 rupees extra for the engravement. And you get the same pen, but the store guy has sold it for a 500 rupee premium. So this is very, very basic common man's language of how customization, plays a role in premiumization. Very, very, very basic example. So, so somebody at William Penn has, or the Cross brand has worked out customization gets a premium. And that is where they brought in this series product A and B, where B is customizable, A is not customizable, and the B is a little premium because the customer is ready to pay the premium. So this solves two problems. One is, increasing the revenue, obviously, because 2,000 ke badle 2,500. Parallelly, the feel-good factor of the customer remembers you for a more longer period, as long as the pen is working, as long as it is with him. And this is more of a consumer example, but it is a very relatable example when it comes to the effects of customization. And somebody at the back end, while studying his consumer, work this out. This is an intrinsic need which customer does not know, that he would readily pay for a bit of premium, maybe 20%, 25%, just for getting his name on the tag. So this very basic example of how you can, understand the customer's intrinsic needs, develop a product around it or a service around it, categorize, because positioning is also important. You have positioned a normal pen and a premium pen, and then that positioning has helped you to gain traction from the customers.
Yes, it's a very important how we gain traction and making sure the customers feel the satisfaction of the customer's products.
Correct.
So on this similar matter, now that we have focused on how we can develop the product like that, how can a resource-constrained MSME implement any agile product development without any significant investment to make sure they're able to meet customer expectations?
So there are 3 to 4 different aspects of doing it. So I would take the case of an engineering company, okay? Because most of the MSMEs are from the engineering or related to engineering sector, maybe electrical, mechanical, anything. So I'll take a very, very basic, classic example of, let us say, the resources. Okay, so let's take 3 cases. One is the financial resources, one is the engineering or design resources, and one is the marketing resource. Okay, so these 3 resources are primarily critical in terms of getting a new product or a new service developed. So marketing collects the feedbacks, engineering does the design and value engineering, and then finance comes into play for the cost of R&D or cost of development. So of course the ROI and the other factors come into play. But then the MSME outlook or MSME perspective here needs to adapt to a new thinking that sometimes not investing in these kind of resources or these kind of activities. For example, there's a product for construction which has to be fire rated, and you have to get it approved from a certain agency which may cost 10 lakh rupees, for example. 10 lakh rupees again for an MSME, again depending on the revenue, but still it's a big sum, 10 lakh rupees. And if you try to skip that, or you try to miss that, or you do not allocate the right resources in terms of the financials to it, probably your entire business may come to a standstill. It's that level of a risk. So you will always have to judge or make a decision of spending that R&D on the basis of the impact it will bring to the revenue overall. For example, there's a company which manufactures doors. I will not take the name, but they're a big name in the doors, and they brought in a rule that a fire door has to be certified by CBRI, government institute, and then CBRI has very long queues of 9 months, 12 months to get the door fire tested. And then many players, really got stuck because the CFO approval, the Chief Fire Officer approval for any building would not be sanctioned without CBRI approval. So there was a phase of almost 9-10 months and 2 or 3 companies really milked the market very well, because they read it out that 8-9 months is the waiting period at the lab, and no other player does not have any certification. They kind of carteled and really milked the opportunity. This was mostly pre-COVID, not post-COVID. And there are several such strategies played by the large players. And there is always a large player in the same segment, whereas MSME is trying to make a market share. So, this kind of makes it very important that you look from a strategic perspective and not just the immediate cost perspective for developing a product or getting a certification. This is one part of it. Secondly, most of the workforce that is going to be there in the next 5 years is going to be millennial to Gen Z transformation, okay, or transition, I would say. Retention also becomes important from this perspective that, if you're not investing in R&D or getting up new things, your employees will kind of get a little boredom and probably shift to something that has more interesting, because the financial side of Gen Z is mostly taken care of, at least till they are 30, and you will probably lose a good amount of talent or good quality of talent just because you're not doing R&D or not doing product development. Because Gen Z को भी नया चाहिए रोज. They want everything new every day or at least every week. And if there's no progress happening on that or no focus on that, a good set of Gen Z quality talent will move out because कुछ नया नहीं हो रहा है. So that is another aspect of this whole strategy can also be part of your retention strategy towards the new joinees that are coming or the new youth that is coming, because unless you don't understand the youth, you will not be able to retain them. I'm 32 and I'm still struggling to understand how Gen Z thinks. And with this small gap of 7 or 8 years between us and Gen Z that is joining the workforce now, if this is the gap with us and the gap we had with our previous generation, that is before millennials, the guys who were in 1980s to 87, 88. So the gap already was very high, and now this gap is again very high. I'm able to understand what kind of expectations they have from their company that they're working in. They want to own it. They want to own it in a manner that, they have achieved it like a trophy. And if they don't get that chances, probably they may look for some alternative opportunity. So again, from employee retention standpoint, also this is important. Third is we talked about the financial resources. Okay, so financial resources, again, I would recommend that any company that is into manufacturing or design-based manufacturing, they're doing the designing of the products and doing the manufacturing, they really need to set out a thought process that an X percentage of their revenue should be, invested into new product development, research and the technology aspects of it. So digitalization of processes is one part, or maybe adding digital AI. Not AI may be still a far story. It's all in the jazz, but something to do with virtual reality, something to do with augmented reality, and these kind of things. Getting them to construction, getting them to factory construction, machinery manufacturing, lot of things. It's an ocean of opportunities when you look at where to invest. But the problem is there is no budgets. There is no strategic budgeting being done in most of the MSMEs, which if people start to think that there has to be a sizable R&D budget, sizable marketing budget, again, a marketing budget not from the advertisement but from the research and client data collection or input collection perspective. So things will start turning around, and I will further, when we talk in more detail, I will highlight how things change when you have a dedicated R&D budget and how the organization is transformed.
Absolutely. Thank you for that insightful answer on the resource-centric behavior. So moving on, as we were talking about such kind of activities and related to strategy, can you provide some certain examples of some successful customized projects and the key factors behind their success for customer expectation which match?
See, Nikhil, I'll tell you something. The problem is that all of us are very, very awful about, we are very positive about all the success stories, and generally success stories always bring in a good feel factor, but they do not bring a reality check to MSME thought process or strategic thought process, because वो हो चुका है. problem solving thought process starts when you see failures. Okay, when you understand failures, see who failed, why failed, and then so I'll highlight two cases, okay, which are very close to my understanding and all the information that I have read across multiple books and read through podcasts or interviews and all the data collection. So I'll tell you the positive story. There's a paints company. I will not name the company. They're one of the largest paint manufacturers in India. And so back, I think 2001, 2, in that era probably. I'm not sure about the timing, but somewhere in that era, they had started. They invested into a technology that can make customized colors at the shop level itself. Okay, so they had only one. So it's a SCM come marketing come customization strategy compiled as one, and then they invested into some specialized machines who would make who would add pigments to the base white paint and then customize any color at the shop. So my strategic advantage as a paint manufacturer was all paint that I have to manufacture in majority is white. I supply all the white dabbas to the store, and mera painter and customer. Painter is the applier, who is the user of the product, and the consumer can just have any color that they want. Of course, they had made some sets to which so sampling and then batch making and everything at the back end went very streamlined. They had to just manufacture white dabba, send it to shops. Painter aega, he will just get a catalog, sir, this color, but isme thoda light chahiye, and then you reduce a proportion of the color, make a sample there itself. So you don't have to wait for 50 liters of paint to paint your house for a test that will be coming probably you order. You go there, take a 1 liter box, customize the color, paint some part of your house, looks okay, then you can order. So the entire, if you look at this one shift, abhi us time pe agar the paint company had said, oh, I have 600 outlets, so I have to invest in 600 machines, this is the cost, no, I cannot bear it. And he wouldn't have allocated that asset investment. Probably we would have not been here, enjoying the pride of what we hold today for that company in the overall Indian building materials landscape. And today they are crazy big. But agar us time pe they would have thought ki are yaar ye budget nahi baitha. If the finance wouldn't have could be able to get that budget or that whole SCM strategy, there would have been absolutely very high costs at that point of time. But that is what has resulted into what we know the largest paint company in India is. So again, this is how SCM strategy or customization strategy transforms the entire structure. And then today we don't need to discuss about the profitability that the company holds. I'm sure all of you now know which paint company I'm talking about, but of course, due to multiple obligations, we cannot take names. The second story, which is the failure story or the impact of not doing the right R&D. So this is with respect to the drain covers. So back, what is your age? You will be 30? Nikhil? You will be 30, right?
I'm 29.
Okay, so we are almost the same age. So when we were kids, the what we typically call gutter ka dhakkan or the drain covers, putting it in a more polished way, they used to be steel, cast iron, and then after that, after some time, it became concrete and RCC reinforced, and then there was a time when it was FRP. So the product did not change across 30 years. Drain cover is still drain cover. The entire manufacturing technology had a makeshift. So it moved from making heavy steel manhole covers or the drain covers to concrete and then FRP. So I know particularly, two, three brands who are in the same segment of supplying these materials to contractors or to government agencies, etc. Now, of course, there will be sales challenges, product promotion challenges, because this is more of a public usage product. But then what a lot of promoters missed out, I'll tell you, the guy who developed the FRP covers, okay, they thought they won the market because the product is supreme. But the market leaders who were probably 200, 300, 500 crores, the FRP guys thought FRP is a very complex technology and they will not be able to make a comeback. But they knew the market far better than the product. And in a product market pyramid, the market always, one who controls the market is always superior, because product can be, transformed, rebuilt, reorganized, or replaced, whatever. The market and the needs will remain same. So these guys who made the FRP covers actually touched an intrinsic need, brought in the product, but they miserably failed in overconfidence that FRP है तो और कोई तो कर नहीं पाएगा. But then the market leader, I would not name, they are big in manhole covers. They brought in technology, they brought in from Europe, they went to China, they did 1 year they had a severe setback. But when they came back with so much strength that our guys who were doing the FRP covers were, really, really slashed to the reality check, which they failed by underestimating the existing market, because they built it on the product, not on the market. So they were good product guys, but not good marketing guys, or not good at, the customer of it. While the market leader was very centric about his customers or the product entirely, and they made a solid comeback. Of course, at a larger corporation, larger entity, they had a lot of resources to do that, but then they reacted in a very short span of time. So your market will have a temporary shift, or you may bring a champion product, but if you don't have grip on the market, you may succeed or you may fail. So this is very typical kind of a failure for an MSME, where they could not capitalize on the market despite having a champion product. And of course, the thought process is they tried to fight it on the product level itself completely, but they did not take care of, because the buyers are contractors. You need to be having happy contractors. Their margins need to be secured. It's all a base level numbers that are pre-established across years. It's not. I would not put it as a nexus, but it is not. You cannot say that it is a nexus. It is nothing but my comfort zone of operating in a certain way established. So if I have the same old contractor whom I've been working with 20 years or 25 years, and suddenly somebody comes in with a new product, I may try it, I may not deny it. But then if my old contractor is again coming up with the same new product, I would be more than happy to buy it from him, because my my commercials are established, people is established, relationship is established. So that your technology shift may not entirely be responsible for a capture of a larger market. So your strategies have to be played accordingly, that when you're a small sized guy and taking on the biggies, your strategy also has to be equally strong in terms of marketing, in terms of the pricing, in terms of the distribution, in terms of production. You made a nice product. The demand is 10,000 pieces and you can make only 1,000. Still, you will be falling back. So again, same concepts in different engineering industries. Technology, carbon fiber. People are coming up with carbon fiber. We don't have too many use cases for a commercial application. Of course, we have high-end engineering applications, automobile or aerospace or something, but we do not have something that is, can be brought at a commercial level.
Understand. So, moving along the lines, since we have discussed extensively on kind of, success, failures, how can, MSMEs build custom products, how can they increase, what kind of challenges they face. Can we also discuss how MSMEs should also build and maintain their strong client relation through these tailored solutions?
So, again, I mean, all the talks that we did are again correlating here. So,
Yes.
see, the three to five major points is sit with your customer as much as possible again, because the product that you are probably built, the product that is already built probably a year ago may not remain same after a year. But we are in a VUCA world, right? So everything is vulnerable, everything is uncertain, everything is just too complex. And somebody or the other from an existing market where you are replacing an existing product or a need, somebody will make a comeback. Your competition, maybe directly, maybe indirectly, will make a comeback, or they will thrive to make a comeback, probably also divert the customer or probably mislead the customer. Also, you have to have your guards up all the time, and you have to have your cannons loaded all the time. This is not something that you one time and stop. It is a continuous process.
Yes.
It is as continuous as sales. It is as continuous as production, as continuous as getting your cash flows right. So this will not change. I mean, sitting with your customers will not change. AI, probably you have robots selling your products. Still, the emotional intelligence will not change. The reading between lines intelligence will not change, and that is one thing which MSME promoters or MSME entrepreneurs really need to think on how they are putting up things in the next 6 to 9 months or 12 months. So your product launch plan should not just be for an immediate basis, but you should have a long-term thought process of at least 12 months from now, that what launches you will make. Sometimes launches are good, but they are too pre-timed or early stage. And then sometimes the launches are good, but they are too late. So timing is another key factor. And because you don't meet your customers very regularly, you will not get the know-how of the timings also. So, if my product, my competitor is, we should know that our competitor is probably going to launch a new product, and our timing of launch of that product has to be really, really planned, backward working onto when to start the R&D, start the design, validation of design from some third parties, certifications, and then the launch timings. And then this has to also be a little bit structured, because many a times it happens that in a haste we end up launching something which has not been thoroughly tested or thoroughly worked out. So there is also a risk element of failure there if we try to prepone something that is not planned. So promoter ka primary activity is to bring that vision, bring that forecast, and the only source of doing it is meeting customers, meeting contractors, or meeting whoever you are servicing primarily. If you look at large corporations, generally they spend 18 to 24 months on an R&D. And because you are a smaller organization, you will always have that cutting edge on time, where if they take 24 months to bring something, you can probably do it in, depends on what the product is, but anywhere between 6 to 12 months. You should always try to keep the larger corporations on the edge by developing and throwing new products to the market. That's how you can keep up the edge. Another aspects is again what I said, the budgets on the R&D or the resources, manpower on the R&D. And an R&D should not be looked upon as design. Design or engineering is one department, R&D is another. And R&D has to be a separate vertical directorial function again, cannot be put down or to a level where you don't have control. You need absolute control on what's happening in R&D, what are we bringing, what are the solutions that we are offering. And it involves a lot of promoter involvement. I mean, promoter's time has to be spent into expedition of R&D or timely launches, everything. I mean, all perspectives from a new launch or a product development. This cannot happen without promoter intervention in a MSME. Of course, when you go to larger corporations, you will have biggies, XOs, CXOs of the world to bring in R&D, product development, launches, marketing, everything. But especially in an MSME, having a revenue of maybe 50, 70 crores, their promoter involvement is highly required.
Absolutely. It's very important, and R&D is the most important, especially in this kind of aspect when MSMEs are trying to, win win the competition, be better in the market. So in this kind of phase and era where, the technology and all kind of tools and resources are rising, would you recommend or any kind of tools or technologies that MSMEs can use to streamline this customization process or various aspects of this business?
So I will give you one or two very basic level examples which are already in the run. Okay. So many years ago, the 3D printing technology had come into place. Okay, which is now very prominent, very in day-to-day activities being used, which is also called prototyping or rapid prototyping. So earlier, for a plastic processing unit or a plastic component manufacturer or a plastic product manufacturer, he had to go all the way to make a mold and then get a sample run, then modify the mold. Sometimes the modification may not be possible, and then again a new mold. So the R&D process was too long. So fits and tolerances or getting the product right was very difficult earlier. Now with prototyping, things have changed a lot. 3D printing has come into play. I know people who have 500 machines for prototyping, and they manufacture MCB bodies, plastic MCB bodies, to supply to very large corporations because they want a launch to be done, but the molds are not ready. And they are running it through rapid prototyping as a production, not as a sampling. And this has completely changed the scenario. So an MCB company or electrical switchgear company launches a product which is actually prototype, 3D prototype or 3D printed. Before making the final mold, probably 1 year, they collect all the feedbacks on what all issues are being faced, supply chain, manufacturing, assembling, customer installations, and the final testing and electrical results that come out. So, probably till first year, they do not even finalize the mold design. This is something that gives a larger bandwidth to larger corporations. Now, if you talk about cost, if your mold fails after the product feedbacks, the cost of making a new mold, the risk element, for example, it is 1 crore, for example. And prototyping, the cost is probably 1.5 crore. So your delta cost of risk is only 50 lakhs. And in that 50 lakhs, you will be able to thoroughly streamline everything, right from supply chain to logistics, all possible problems that can come out in a new product that is being brought in, distributed, and sold. So this is one classic example of 3D prototyping or 3D printing being used as a commercial application. Now this technology adoption, I know many mold manufacturers who still probably don't understand 3D type or 3D prototype. And then I know certain mold manufacturers who have transformed their business from just mold making to having 500, 600 3D printers with them, and transforming the entire modality or modus operandi how the large corporations work. So he identified this one need of the customer that we always end up making two molds. The first mold is run for 1 year, and then the second mold is probably redesigned after all the feedbacks is collected. So he gave that XYZ switchgear company, I will not take the name, I know the name, but I'll not take the name. And eventually, when the final mold was done, it had a lot of feedbacks and product improvement already done. So probably you may risk some things, but the data collection, the inputs that you gather across multiple disciplines or multiple departments in your organization, that help you, recover those costs, which probably you will eventually end up investing if something goes south.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing all of those details. On the similar lines, beyond just technology and other details, since we are talking about how they can deliver certain aspects, could you give some advice on how they could improve their timely delivery of, delivering such kind of customized products?
So this is again a very subjective question, because every MSME will have their own limitations, own challenges, and then the process of manufacturing or sampling, or there's a long process in getting a product customized to deliver it to the customer. And mostly customers, when it comes to timelines, they expect the same timelines as a off-the-shelf product. This is what we also face in a lot of our projects, where customer is expecting that we will have it all in the stock, and once we get the order, probably we'll deliver it in 10 days. But the customization has its own limitations with respect to the design factor or the project-specific customization factor. So one area is that you educate the customer that what is the benefit of the customized thing and how it will eventually save time as a whole, instead of just getting the material at site or factory, but then not able to do something and then wait for multiple components to reach and finish the complete assembly. Whereas the customization supply chain will have a different approach to it, and it will have stage-wise supplies which will allow the assemblies to happen or the installations or the erection to happen. So this is, first thing is to educate the timelines to the customer. There is one aspect of it. Customers always will be, always be demanding, and you will have to navigate a way during your communications of the product launch or during presentations with the customer, and try to sync that in. That is number one. Second is the manufacturing process technology, or the I would say the manufacturing process BOQs or MOQs, minimum order quantity. There are several cases where I have observed or I have learned that there is a minimum batch size method for a lot of MSMEs. So for example, I am making something XYZ product, I will always have a minimum batch size. Now this minimum batch size was defined probably 15 years ago. The machines have changed, the skill has changed, the technology to manufacture, they have changed, but they have not adapted or recalibrated their minimum batch size. So mostly in MSMEs, this is the problem कि इतना तो minimum order चाहिए. Okay, and इतना तो minimum order के चक्कर में probably you lose the first small order, and then you probably lose a large order which was probably 10 times your batch size. So this thought process, I mean, I would tell every MSME entrepreneur that is going to listen to this is recalibrate your minimum batch size or MOQs. Customers are ready to pay a premium if you are ready to give them 10 pieces against your MOQs of 1000. Again, there is another challenge of inventory. There is a people tend कि मैं ज़्यादा बनाऊंगा तो सस्ता पड़ेगा, but if your batch size is 1000, your customer requires 10 pieces and you don't have customer for the 990, your 990 is a total loss. You will end up building an inventory which is useless, thinking that ये कहीं तो बिक जाएगा, but it may or may not happen. So recalibrate your minimum batch sizes, or bring to a level that my minimum batch sizes will be recalibrated every 6 months, 1 year, because product scale, manufacturing, everything is improved. And if you don't improve your MOQs, you will eventually end up into not getting the premium that you should be getting by customization. Customization का premium day one पे नहीं मिलता, but eventually it brings impact on your bottom line over a period of time. So it is a pain that you will have to bear for a few quarters, few months to bring that makeshift or that thought shift, process shift in your organization, and be able to customize and probably over a period of time even deliver on or before time of customer expectation. So it's a transition that you start doing, and from that point probably 6 months, well, it depends on what is the product life cycle or product manufacturing life cycle. So for a machine it may be 2 years, or for something like fabricated articles or structures it may be 6 months, 9 months. So it is again dependent on your overall product timelines, but this is how it is. If you don't start working on your MOQs, the process, the technology, the cost aspect of it, there is another aspect which MSMEs generally look at is मेरा batch cost बहुत low है. Okay. But अगर मैं आधा बनाता हूँ तो मेरा cost double हो जाता है. So by general aspects of it, the total cost is probably 10% of the product, which impacts on the batch. And probably if you make 50% of the MOQ, your cost probably will be 15, 16, 17%. So you're making a 5-7% additional cost impact that you're taking. This 5-7% will pay off eventually in the future, in the long run, because any product that you're launching today will have X volume, and over a period of time it will go to 10 or 20X volume. So this is more subjective to each business, each product, everything that an MSME is doing. Particularly, this whole costing is customized to each MSME for their products and services. But an open thought process needs to come in here, especially with the young gen. So there's a steel mill that says हमारा minimum TMT rod 12 mm is 10 tons, and 16 का भी मेरा 10 tons है, और 20 का भी मेरा 10 tons है, और 40 का भी 10 tons है. Okay, so ask your people why this is 10 tons. First, ask the right questions, because probably the 10 ton was for an older kind of a mill that was rolling out TMT rods, and the newer mills probably can do it in the same cost and same heat load or same amount of energy for fighters. So your batch cost will go down, and you can probably do lesser mismanaged inventories and more customized products.
Yeah, thanks for sharing all the details on not just about the timeliness of how to be able to deliver, but the various aspects of the business and the product management of it. And the session has been great and insightful. And as I come to my final question of this session, which is more of a generic question, but I would love to hear your opinion, is what advice would you give other MSMEs who are just starting out to explore businesses, entrepreneurship, and even just moving away from off the shelf to product customization of their products?
So I will summarize everything that I talked in the last 30-40 minutes. Very first is sit with your customers. जाओ, बैठो, चाय कॉफी जो पीते हो पियो, उनके साथ गपशप करो. गपशप में बहुत कुछ insights मिलते हैं which will help you keep product customization करना क्या है, because People would say, I am going to make something customized. But what is the customization? You need to know, because a customization that is flowery in your mind may not be as appealing to your customer. Or probably something that is not very flowery to you might be the exact need customer has. And again, this is very subjective to each product or each service that you're doing. Software may have a different approach, construction may have a different approach, concrete selling may have a different approach. Everything is different. So it totally depends on what exactly you guys are out there for. But this is one major part of, the journey or the transformative journey from, typical off the shelf to customized, or at least package like customized things. That is number one. Number two, in your manufacturing process, look at the variables. Because as I said, the batch cost. Okay, then there are several other factors, not just the batch cost. Okay, there will be several variables which can be put into process in such a way that everything can be customized just by tweaking the process or the variables a bit. So that is one second aspect of moving this. The third is make this both things a continuous process in your organization, driven by you, driven by the tech guy or the technical guy or the product designer of the company. And most of the cases, the MSME owner is the product designer in most of the cases that I know of. And that is where this entire transformation can be brought. This transformation cannot be brought in by bringing a CEO of a larger corporation or bringing a product designer from a larger corporation. For this, you will have to put in your hands in the mud and take things out, because otherwise this is not happening. So this whole transformation has to be driven by the promoter group at least, or somebody within the second line management, which is if you're a mid-sized corporation of maybe 100-150 crores, it has to be driven by at least the second line of your team. And this is more of a directorial function, so you need to be fully involved. There will, I mean, my team keeps saying this a lot. अरे आप customer के पास जाके बैठे रहते हो. So my answer primarily is that is my full-time job. That itself is my full-time job, because the business was started for the customer. It's done to solve a problem. The problem solving money that will come in is the revenue, is the bread earner of the company. And if I don't listen to the customer, if I don't hear from the customer his pain and build my business around it, then I am not a promoter, I am not an entrepreneur, I am just a trader, which is just the distribution part of it or the sales part of it. But then overall strategy will never come into the right place and time. So it is something that promoters have to focus really upon, and that will transform the organization into a much better, in terms of revenue, in terms of reputation, in terms of brand. Anything that a promoter lives for will be ensured.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rushabh. Thanks for sharing all your insights and expertise from all your business and business and lifestyle that you have experienced. I'm sure all the MSMEs that who are following this episode have learned a lot from you and making sure that they implement whatever they learned in their episode today. Really, thank you for joining us here, Rushabh. It was a great pleasure having you today.
Yes, Nikhil. Thank you for letting me be part of this masterclass session. And if at all somebody wants to understand a little bit more, you can always connect and try to help them with whatever I can in my very less available time. But I will definitely try and help as much as I can.
Absolutely. If anybody in today's episode do want to reach out to Rushabh, please let me know. So maybe I can help you connect with Rushabh, have over a cup of chai, I guess. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rushabh.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.